As we now move on to the final closing session of this very special conference, we will now hear a special address. And I'll first please welcome Ms. Shobhana Joshi and Commodore Sujeet on the stage, please, as they would be concluding the session. We will now hear a special address on how AI and the supervised autonomy will change combat from Dr. Vivek Lall, Chief Executive, Genera Automatically USA. We shall hear him virtually.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure and honor to speak with you today. In the cockpit of a fifth-generation fighter, somewhere high over the ocean, an Air Force pilot gets heads up, hostile fighters are airborne and closing. The call didn't come over the radio. Instead, the pilot's cockpit display shows detections of flight of unmanned aircraft operating far to the west. A pair of low observable, highly capable adversary fighters is outbound at high speed from their home coastline. The pilot and the other human crews on station know this because their unmanned vanguard is watching from multiple perspectives using multiple sensors. One UAS used its infrared search and track sensor to spot the hostile aircraft as they climbed out from the coastline. A second one, cued by the first, slewed its sensors onto the track and confirmed the presence of the contacts from a different angle. Artificially intelligent and autonomous systems aboard these and other aircraft know from the location of the launch, the speed and nature of the contact, characteristic recognition, and other features that these fighters are of a particular type belonging to a hostile air force. They also know to escalate this information to their human commanders immediately, along with an interrogative, what should they say and do. The pilot, the UAS, and the other aircraft operating in the area can't be sure of any given moment which of their satellite-based systems might work. Those are regularly degraded by hostile activity. But the UAS and the human-occupied aircraft, nonetheless, can stay in touch with each other, including via mesh networks in which each aircraft is a node. So every human pilot in the area gets an alert immediately after the autonomous aircraft systems conclude the conditions are right. With that information in hand and time to act, fighter pilots on station can refer to their orders, the standing rules of engagement, or a higher authority in deciding what to do. They might retrograde and try to open up distance from the bogies. They might energize their own radars or use other sensors. Or they might authorize the UAS in this rapidly approaching future scenario, some of which are armed, to fire. In this new era, unmanned systems already have transformed warfare, intelligence, and other national security applications. They're doing so again for information dominance and air combat, making possible near-future scenarios like this one. General Atomics Aeronautical Systems has led the way in integrating UAS into every aspect of military operations and in continuing to push the boundaries of what's possible with aircraft, hardware, software, integration, and more. To be clear, the new age of UAS applications to air combat won't look very much like the past or even current operations. Today, when an MQ-9A Reaper takes off for a mission, it's under the control of a human crew in a ground control station responsible for the safe flight and mission. The aircraft is advanced and automated, but it still receives focused attention by many human specialists, all at once for long periods of time. Artificial intelligence and autonomy mean that tomorrow's UAS will do much of their work on their own. Operators essentially will push a button that makes them take off and fly their missions. They'll sweep their own sensors over the ocean surface or through a box of aerospace and make their own discoveries. In the old days, it might have taken a human intelligence specialist to look at the sensor feed from a UAS and say, hey, that ship claims on the automatic identification system that it's a civilian trawler, but I can see that actually it's a hostile surveillance vessel. The subject matter expertise of a human intelligence officer was required to add value to the pictures and other surveillance captured by the UAS. Starting now and growing into the future, a UAS will make this kind of assessment for itself. It will contrast what's being shown on AIS with what it perceives and what it knows about the configurations of the vessels in its operating area and conclude, this is an anomaly. I'd better let someone know. General Atomics advanced software and integration systems are supporting these kinds of detection and analysis capabilities today, providing users with the highest quality of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance ever possible from unmanned platforms. That will only improve. And in the new era, UAS will share what they observe and what they conclude and be poised to act when circumstances require. If newly independent aircraft operations are the first big innovation required for the new era of air dominance, the second builds from it, resilient and dynamic communications. U.S. and allied warfighters must prepare for combat against sophisticated adversaries capable of degrading legacy networks. Today, if a hostile actor jammed the satellite communication of a Reaper, that wouldn't hurt or crash the aircraft, but it could stop its remote human operators and other consumers from observing the area until it was clear of the disruption. Tomorrow, more resilient low Earth orbit satellite communications will make these links harder to disrupt. New point-to-point laser signaling systems won't be susceptible to distant radio frequency jamming. And mesh networking within an allied force means that the UAS and human-piloted aircraft can transport and broadcast their own communications with them. Picture a flight of friendly aircraft operating in a column many miles long. In the lead are new generation UAS, trailing are human-piloted fighters and high-value patrol aircraft, such as the P-8 Poseidon or the E-3 Sentry. As the lead ships in the column cross into an area in which satellite communications are degraded, the aircraft begin to rely on signals beamed in all directions from and among their peer aircraft. A trailing aircraft outside the jamming envelope can preserve a satellite link if necessary and share out data within the network. So new UAS won't need non-stop positive human attention to operate because they'll fly themselves and operate their own mission system. Call it supervised autonomy. They don't need always-on satellite or radio networks. They can escalate and burst transmit only when necessary. And when they do need to interact with the battle force, new technology and new tactical communication strategies mean they can. A lead element UAS accompanying a flight of fighter jets may see several air and surface targets over the course of their patrol, but they know to escalate onto the network and alert only when they detect specific military units under pre-specified conditions. That is what enables the third innovation that will revolutionize UAS platforms, the preservation of human control in the most critical situations. Although the chain of events may be different, the ultimate authority for the release of weapons or other important mission events still will be up to humans. Even though a supporting UAS may carry air-to-air weapons, only the human fighter pilot or another human commander would authorize their use. These concepts of operations for newly autonomous and intelligent UAS are about more than building the technology, networks, and software required. They're also about integrating what's now becoming possible into the legacy practices of human warriors. Think of it like training a cavalry horse or a working dog, then training humans to work with them to the greatest effort and effect. Warfighters must be able to interact with these advanced systems in a way that doesn't distract them or overload their already considerable responsibilities as combat air crews. That requires a simple yet powerful interface. And above all, the humans in the battle force must trust the machines. Trust comes from the net total of experience. Humans learned to trust elevator buttons to take them to their floors of choice, or parking payment kiosks to raise the swing arm blocking exit from a garage. Military pilots and air crews can learn to trust new AI and automated systems via manned-unmanned teaming. That's where General Atomics has an edge over competitors. As the global leader in unmanned aviation and the inventor of so much of the underlying technology, from the aircraft to the network integration to the software, it is positioned better than anyone else in today's environment into what AI and autonomy may well make possible tomorrow. I think this is a brilliant seminar. I think some of these thoughts will help guide further discussion, and I really appreciate the attention and time. Thank you and best.
After the very interesting address, we now have a virtual address by Dr. Mikael Taveniku, Chief Executive Evolved Aero Sweden. He's going to be joining us via a video message.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mark Taveniku with Evolved Aerospace Corporation. After 40 years in the business, I'm really happy to be here and share some thoughts and observations about what's going on in the industry right now. So we're going to do a quick introduction of Evolved and what we do. Then we're going to talk about recent events and what we learned from them, talk about possible solutions and what we could probably do about it going forward. Evolved is what I call the next generation defense corporation. We are mission focused, multinational. We are networked, meaning that we work with partners. We don't keep all the infrastructure in-house, but we put together teams to work on the projects to make it more efficient. We make advanced systems and we are set up directly for rapid development cycles and rapid deployments. So currently we're working on the SkyGo strategic strike system. It is a collaborative combat intelligence AI-driven team of stealth aircraft. They have a range of about 2,000 kilometers, flies at 700 kilometers an hour, and they work as a collaborative group and not essentially as a single aircraft. So essentially they're designed to attack hardened targets, and to do so they use stealth technology as well as electronic attack and electronic countermeasures in a combination so that they can fly undetected through contested airspace, and when they get to their target, penetrate air defenses and deliver their payload where it's supposed to go. So what has the Ukraine theater taught us? Well, traditional systems are not effective. Small drones are cheap but doesn't do the job. Air defenses, on the other hand, are very effective when they have them. And most importantly, what was effective yesterday does not work today, meaning that things change extremely fast and we have to adapt quickly. So what about transparent battlefield? Well, today anybody can just bring out a browser and find out where everybody is. So the challenge today is not to know where your targets are, but actually getting there, and when there, be able to breach integrated air defenses and deliver sufficient munitions to neutralize the target. So how do we do this? Well, uh, traditional quadcopters, JDIs, etc., are simply too small. They can't go far enough, and they are too easily defeated by any kind of air defense. So the options we have today are essentially fighter jet strike groups, which are nice. However, we are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of hardware in the air. We only have a few of them, and they are big, fat, juicy targets, although some of them are hard to hit. It's still a very risky endeavor to send them in over contested airspace and attacking a highly defended target. On the left-hand side here, we have a M75D strike group, just happened to be one of our products, could be anybody else's, where the strategy essentially is to divide up that big fighter and the escort into smaller units that each individual is small enough to be cheaper than a cruise missile, cheaper than a surface-to-air missile, but still being big enough and fast enough to do the job that the big guys will do. And now we are talking about an order or almost 2 orders of magnitude less cost to strike, and it's been more than an order of magnitude more difficult to defeat. So to summarize, what's essentially needed here is something they can do teaming, electronic warfare, stealth technology, have enough speed and enough striking power to defeat targets. So we call ours the SkyGo system. Others are calling them different name, but essentially what's important here is to be able to fly through contested airspace, penetrate air defenses, and with reasonably high precision deliver the payload to where it needs to go. And most importantly here also, being expensive to kill. War is really an economic part. So what are the challenges then? Well, first of all, the current defense technology is essentially obsolete. In fact, everything that we make today will most certainly be obsolete 10 years from now. What does that mean? Well, we need to keep developing our systems. We need to make new systems fast, preferably faster than our adversaries. The good news and the bad news is that the commercial world is moving faster than ever, and faster than ever in this in our space is that their sensor technologies, their AI technologies, and frankly their production capabilities and robustness is moving much faster than we have on the defense side. So there's a threat and an opportunity here where we can actually use this to our advantage. And then, of course, nobody knows what will happen next. So the only reasonable strategy here is to adapt. So where to go from here? Well, obviously we need rapid development, but we need rapid development with a purpose. So we need to take high technology risks. We need to experiment and don't even try to stockpiling anything. realize nothing will be effective for more than 10 years. So we need to build for change, build for modularity, build tailor-made systems, and use commercial technology wherever it's possible. And that comes back to a lot of the things that will happen in the future, and we've seen in the battle space in Ukraine, is ingenuity in inventions for things that are very subpar. For example, using commercial off-the-shelf laser diodes to make automatic target seekers, to make improvised explosive devices, adding a off-the-shelf AI, a Raspberry Pi camera, and make it a smart bomb, make it a steerable munition. Our kamikaze drones that we use for as anti-artillery weapons are essentially a Raspberry Pi with an off-the-shelf image processing pipeline and an autopilot off-the-shelf open source flight controller, and which means that we can build very advanced things with very little resources, and we can do them extremely fast. They're not robust, they're not perfect, but they do the job. With that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would be happy to discuss any of the topics with the audience. And SAMDeS, thank you so much for letting me talk at this event.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for your patience for this rather long, intensive day of discussions, packed with discussions. I have been told that I have just 1 minute. I think, like in Transparent War, the time has kept on shrinking from 10 minutes for each speaker to now just 1 minute. So I'll just be very short. Actually, I just wanted to, hearing the speakers today, what one defining point which struck me was whether, the new changes or the new technology, how will it percolate down to the field, and how will the men who actually handle the equipment, how will they handle it? Actually, it took me back about 25 years ago when I was a director at that time in the Ministry of Defense, and the Indian Army was totally night blind. They had, they couldn't do any operations at night, and it was a very sensitive time of CI operations. And then it was decided, I was part of an empowered committee that I was sent to to find out about these thermal imaging systems. Nobody had heard about it in India. Of course, there was information available. And thereafter, it was tendered, and I was also involved in the negotiations and the procurement. And initially, it was just scaled to just the CI ops, and one imager, one handheld thermal imager per platoon, because they said, let's try it and let's see it. But, it was such a success. Those men on the ground found it so useful that thereafter it was scaled to the entire Indian Army. And I think from the infantry, the experience, the artillery also wanted thermal imaging systems, and also it was introduced in the armored corps for the tanks. So I just wanted to give this example that, when we come to these seminars, we have a lot of apprehensions of how the new changes will be accepted or not accepted. But I think the soldier on the ground is very receptive. I mean, whenever I went to the units, they would all thank me, and they somehow came to know that I was involved with this, and they would all come and thank me and say, ma'am, this has made a world of a difference to us. And, so that was one example I wanted to give. And the other, I just will touch on some of the themes and the issues which have come up. Dr. Lall, in his address, has very nicely he narrated just what we were discussing in the morning about man-unmanned synergy. That is the new doctrine. That was what was mentioned in the morning session. So I think there has to be that healthy force mix. I think that was the kind of approach which everybody was suggesting, that we can't have robots or robotics completely displacing, or it cannot be a complete change of force structure. So that is the kind of force structure we are looking at. And the response time, the need for faster response time, I think the former naval chief made that suggestion, which I found was very valuable, that we need to have a digital kind of core or a digital unit where they are very versatile in software development, and like the example was given that as a drone is going up, new software is being developed to counter that. So I think we also need to have that kind of capability. And then the capability of data and AI, because the volume, velocity, and variety of data is tremendous, and how to sift through that data. And the other point which was being made is that decisions have to be fast, and the fastest decision maker will be the winner. So that ability also needs to be developed in an effective manner. And another point which was made was the development of networking of systems, networking of supremacy, and space-based networking. And also, I think the point which was made by the former Air Chief was very valid, that our networks have to be indigenous. And the theme throughout has been that, we have to have indigenous development. We cannot depend on such, what should I say, sensitive kind of warfare on imported equipment. So therefore, the two important aspects for this, which I think came out, was one, shorter development cycles. I think even the last speaker, as well as Secretary DRDO, have highlighted that technology is going obsolete very fast. So technology cycles have shrunk, and so the technology development cycle has also to keep pace with that. So if 10 years is the time now, the technology development has to be concurrent, innovation has to be faster. Yes, commercially off the shelf now, I think that was also highlighted, that it is moving much faster than the military technology. It is the opposite of what was happening earlier. So we have to leverage the use of commercial technology, use it for military applications, and what Dr. Chandrika Kaushik made a very valid point, that intellectual capability to operational capability, that is what we need to foster and develop, and maybe to have a structured framework for that. What is happening in the academia needs to be, and what is happening in the industry needs to be converted into a usable product. It just cannot remain as a paper. Then another important aspect, which everybody has talked of, Ukraine conflict and other thing, that the balance of material has become a very critical factor. So deployment, I mean, everywhere we have talked of large systems being deployed. Now it is an era of swarms. We are talking of swarms of satellites, we're talking swarms of UAEs. So there is going to be pressure on production. Production cycles have to be much faster and quicker to replace the voids, because what I see is that that side will get the critical edge over the adversary who is able to do it faster. So production capacities need to be scaled up, and we have to have the ability to scale up indigenously as and when needed. So I think the census was that there is a talent pool available in India. It is how we use the talent pool and build up our capacities And I was happy to see that in the afternoon sessions, we had a lot of response from industry. And I think this is one point which they should take home, that they need to have the capability to scale up and produce faster. So, the final aspect which was also highlighted was of information warfare, that fog of war is not created by media, it is a surfeit of fake news, disinformation, and again, whichever side is able to counter that, that side is going to get the edge. So these are some of the important issues or themes which I thought were very important, which came up during the course of discussion. Focus of this conference on fighting wars under absolute situational awareness, therefore, is something which has generated a lot of discussion today, and these ideas need further deliberations and discussion, maybe at another forum, to take them forward. SAMDeS has always been a strong proponent for taking up topics for new and futuristic technologies. As our chairperson mentioned in the morning, we had already had a lot of conferences on artificial intelligence, space, cyber security, maritime security. And here again, we have discussed the thought process of what the future of structure of warfare as seen in the conflicts across the globe, what kind of steps we may require to equip and train for such warfare. The best judge, of course, for such requirements are the armed forces themselves, and industry and the DRDO and the R&D centers have to collaborate and provide war-winning technologies to the armed forces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this brings us to the conclusion of this seminar. It's my pleasant duty to record a vote of thanks to all our panelists, our chairman. I can name them all, but for want of time, I'm going to leave it there. But particularly, I would like to thank the Armed Forces, the Indian Coast Guard, the Indian Navy, Indian Air Force, and the Indian Army for being participants to this seminar. And we'll take it from here as we go along. Plenty of points have come up. We want to sincerely acknowledge the support that we have received from the Defense Research and Development Organization, the Department of Defense Production, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Lockheed Martin, Bharat Electronics Limited, Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited, Cochin Shipyard Limited, New Space Research and Technology Limited, Idea Forge, and Zen Technologies Limited. It would have been impossible to organize this event without their support. I would also like to thank the members of the media who were present here, and I would like to thank Rohit and Colonel Biman for producing their report. I also want to thank the Manekshaw Center for staying with us for this event, and to Big Events for organizing this event. Our thanks is also due to Aditi for having compared the session, and Rupal there for standing by with us for this whole day, looking at different computer glitches that we had. My special word of thanks to the audience for staying till now, and with this we come to a close for today's evening. Thank you very much. Yeah.
May I request General Lamba to kindly felicitate our members. To Ms. Shobhana Joshi. To Mr. Rohit Srivastav. Rupal, come. Thank you, Rupal. And to Commodore Sujeet.
Great job done.
Let's be a little louder, please, dear audience. Thank you. Thank you, dear ladies and gentlemen, for this, for being there, for your support, and we thoroughly enjoyed being in this conference. We look forward to more engaging discussions and knowledge in the upcoming sessions in the next 2025. May I request you all to also join us for tea. Wishing you all a blissful 2025.